let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go, yes.
It's going to be the same thing.
You're about to hear what we're going to do today, okay? So I'll start the introduction since it's my classroom. For my students, this is Miss Hall. She's an amazing teacher at St. Augustine High School. She's been teaching here for 4 years. I met her 3 years ago when I started teaching here, and we started lesson planning together, just hit it off right away, and we've been lesson planning together ever since. So she teaches Teaching Academy. Welcome, you guys. We have a Teaching Academy here today. She teaches Teaching Academy and also English 1. And she's also the head varsity coach for the girls soccer team here at St. Augustine High School. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Miss Hall students, welcome. Teaching Academy. I'm Miss Hampson. I'm also an English teacher at the school. I teach mostly seniors. I have 12th grade ACE English language, and I also have 2 classes of English 1, which are here today. So welcome to everybody. Good to have you here. We're about to tell you what we're doing here today. This is Financial Literacy Week. We know that you guys missed Tuesday because you guys were on your field study, so we kind of switched our schedule a little bit just to accommodate you guys so that you could get this presentation as well. We're going to go kind of quickly. It's a Wednesday, so we have shortened bells. And we have a lot of information to get to in a short amount of time. So we're going to go real quickly, but feel free to ask questions. Just shout them out or raise your hand at any point in time. All right, off we go.
So the whole purpose of why we're doing this with you guys is because this isn't something that's really taught in school. And there's not a lot of opportunities for you guys to learn about finances and how to be smart with your money because it's not something a lot of people are comfortable talking about. So our goal in here is to kind of break down that barrier and be really transparent with you guys about finances, so that way you guys can become more educated about a topic that not a lot of people talk about. So when you're more educated about things like money and budgeting and finances, you're going to make smarter decisions as an adult in the real world. My Teaching Academy guys, I know that this seems kind of like a stark contrast to what we've been doing this week, but this does tie into our professionalism unit that we did in quarter 3. So we really want you guys to be a part of this so you can see it too.
All right, my guys, so our agenda, we introduced the finance on Monday. Yesterday, we kind of did a swap to accommodate the Teaching Academy gang. So yesterday, we did our financial Kahoot in the FSA. Today, Hall and I are going to do our reveal of our finances. And then tomorrow and Friday, we have a guest speaker coming in. It's Jamel Watson from ViStar Credit Union. And he's amazing. He'll come in Thursday and Friday to talk with you guys about the banking aspect of it and what you guys need to know financially at your age.
And same with Teaching Academy guys. I know we had to prep for our field study and we were going to jump into our multiculturalism unit this week, but it's really beneficial for you guys not only to see what we're talking about today, because we have a lot of teaching stuff embedded in here too, but also Thursday and Friday to come in here and listen to Jamel talk from ViStar, because he's going to talk to you guys about banking, credit cards, setting up accounts, and all of that is super relevant to what we've been doing in class.
Why are we doing this? 1, you need to hear it. 2, no one else is telling you. 3, past students recommend it. Also, when I was in school, I wish someone would have talked to us about this. Paul and I, at the end of each year, we give out surveys to students and ask you what you like best about this class, what you like worst about this class all year, like the English class. And then my last question I usually ask is there anything else you want me to know? Or what else do you feel like putting it down on here? And about 3 years ago, one of my guys wrote, I think it's hilarious that what can I do? I can solve a quadratic equation, but I have no idea how to balance a checkbook. I have no idea really what the difference is between debit and credit. So I thought on that, and we came up with a financial literacy week, and at the end of it, we usually do it at the end of the year, and at the end of it, my students all said, they were like, wow, this is the most relevant thing we've ever done in any of our classes all year. And I was like, that can't possibly be true. And they were like, yes, it is. So we feel like it's relevant. We're doing this to help you guys out. So we hope that even if you get just one thing out of it, like, we'll be happy.
The other reason that we're doing this too is because money is something a lot of people are really uncomfortable talking about. These statistics up here show that people are way more comfortable talking about things like sex, being addicted to drugs, mental illness, race, politics, than they are talking about money, which is crazy. So we want to make it something that is easy to talk about. Now don't go up to people on the street and say, hey, how much money do you make? But this setting is very, very transparent, comfortable. We want you guys to be okay asking us stuff like this so that we can kind of have this conversation.
People are gonna judge, it is considered rude or proper. We're gonna be totally transparent, like she said, so feel free to ask us anything that you want financially. We will answer your question. But again, don't go up to other teachers and ask them how much they make. People are gonna judge. It's uncomfortable talking about money. So my husband and I, we were married 12 years, but the year before, when we were dating, before we were married, I never knew how much money he made. We just didn't talk about money. And he made a lot. So he makes $240,000 a year. So that's a lot, way more. I thought he made like what I do because he doesn't dress fancy, doesn't have a fancy car, just drives a normal car. And he lived in a small house. So I was like, oh. And so I found out, and that's a big difference. But the point is, we don't talk about money, and we should. You like the curtain? How the hell are two English teachers qualified to talk to you guys about finance? Well, we are. Here's why. We are both debt-free. She and I are both debt-free. And Jamel will tell you this Thursday and Friday when he comes that most adults are not. About 93% of adults have debt. Most have credit card debt, and most have some kind of mortgage or a loan. But we're debt-free, and here's why.
So what we do that's really successful and helps us live the lifestyle that we want to live is we live within our means. So we don't spend more money than we actually make every single month. And we're not buying things that we can't afford. We really stick to the things that we can actually purchase. We bargain shop so we don't spend full price on a lot of items that we want. And we both are really good about setting aside money for savings. So taking money out of your paycheck and putting it some away every single time you get paid. We're also really, really fortunate. We both come from positions of privilege in the sense that we have had some help or we've had some really good circumstances that have made us this way. My parents didn't make a lot of money growing up, but they did save everything they could so that they could pay for their 3 kids to go to college. A lot of days people are taking out loans, they have to get on scholarships, and my parents really hustled so they could save money to pay for me to go to school. So I started off on the right foot without any debt because my parents made those sacrifices.
I did have student loan debt when I came out of college. So I was on soccer scholarship in college. It was $20,000 a year to go, and I got a big chunk of that paid for with soccer, so I had to pay about $3,000 a year. So I did take out loans, and at the end of that, I had a small chunk of student loans in debt, but I took the next 5 years and really concentrated, and I did pay that off. So, and I also am very fortunate because I have an amazing ex-husband who has also made a lot of money, so I had help there. However, I don't know if you know the statistics on big lottery winners, but 70% of them that win big chunks of money lose it and go into further debt within 5 years. So it's good to be fortunate like we are, but you also have to be smart with the money that you have. Okay. All right, so we're taking a little bit of a survey to kind of get to know you guys. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you're going to put your fists to your chest like this. So this is communication between me and you, and between you and Miss Hall. So we're going to ask you a question. You're just going to give us your answer by putting a number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 up on your chest. First question is this. Do you have some kind of job right now where you get paid? If you get paid in cash, that's fine too. 1, not at this time, or 2, yes I do.
So babysitting,
you're voting right
cutting
now.
someone's lawn, all that stuff counts too. Anything you get paid for.
Anything you get paid for, even if it's cash, is a 2. If you don't, then it's a 1. All right, thank you. Next question is this. Do you have a job right now where you receive a paycheck with government taxes taken out? Number 1, not at this time, and number 2, yes I do. If you have a job where you get a paycheck from an employer, you do have government taxes taken out. I'm just telling you, okay? Okay, thank you. All right, number 3. Do you have a credit card or a debit card that you use regularly that is in your own name or in your parents' name? Number 1, not at this time. Or number 2, yes. Thank you. All right, next question. Do you know how much your parents make each year? 1, you're not sure. Could you please stop talking? Thank you. 1, I'm not sure, and yes, I know exactly how much they make. Appreciate the honesty. Thank you. All right, and final question. About how much do you think Hall and Hampson make per year as teachers? Number 1 in the 10s, number 2 in the 20s, 330s, 40s, 50s. You're just guessing if you don't know. Okay, we got a couple got it right. We make in the 40s. No, not 240,000 like in the 40s. All right, Hall.
Okay, so some of you guys sitting in here, and hopefully a lot of you, because Teaching Academy is here, do have an interest in being teachers. Some of you guys might be sitting here and you're like, $40,000? No way, I definitely don't want to be a teacher. But teaching is one of those professions a lot of people end up going back to. So they might start out at a different career, but everybody's had a front row seat to what teaching is like because you guys have gone to school your whole life. So sometimes if you don't like your career, your job, whatever you majored in, you might go back to teaching because you kind of have an idea of how to do it. So if you ever decide to be a teacher in St. Johns County, so if you decide to come back and teach at St. Augustine High School, this is kind of your salary scale, so how much you'll get paid each year that you're here. So if you start at a level 0, that means that you have come into the county with no experience, maybe you came from a different career, but you've never taught before. You're going to start at $38,000. If you stick it out for that first year and you come back to teach again in that county, the next year you'll make about $500 on top of that. So you get about $500 raised every single year. Not bad. After 10 years, you're at $42,000. You stick it out for 23, you're almost at $50,000. Now, a lot of jobs, especially entry-level jobs, will start you right around 38 or 40. But with other careers, you are going to progress a lot further in your salary than teachers do. So my boyfriend has been working, he works in finance for about 4 years. Within 4 years, he's almost made about $10,000 more, whereas I've only made a couple thousand more.
We also have what's called pay for performance in St. Johns County. And so when the administrators come in and evaluate us, at the end of the year we get a rating of either effective or highly effective. And if you get effective, you get an extra $800. And if you get highly effective, you get an extra $1,200.
Also, if you're a coach, you do get something called a stipend, which is kind of like one big lump sum of money. So head coaches get about $2,500, assistant coaches get about $1,500. Also, if you're in charge of a club, like yearbook, or you're doing some type of sponsoring after school, like you plan homecoming or prom, you get a stipend for that as well. So if you have teachers who are involved in like 10 different things, they coach, they're in charge of clubs, and the junior class, they all make a little bit of extra money for that. So it's pretty cool, you can make more money that way as a teacher.
And that adds up. Here's our financial lineup. Teacher number 1 who's going to share is Ms. Hall. Teacher number 2, I will share my financial information. Teacher number 3 is going to remain anonymous. She is a teacher at this school. However, she's in pretty big financial trouble, and she wanted to share this with you because she thinks it's important, but she's going to remain anonymous. She's more typical of the teachers at this school than she and I are, because we are not in debt, and most teachers are. I don't know if you know this, but most teachers at this school have more than one job. Some of them have 2 jobs, some of them have 3 or 4 jobs, and most of them work over the summer. We also have an administrator who's going to offer up his finances as well. Mr. Klein, he's not at our school, he's a assistant principal at Wards Creek Elementary.
So what we're going to do right now, guys, is we're going to kind of go over our own personal lifestyles and situations, so that way you get an idea of how much money we make and where it goes based on the type of lifestyle we live. So when you go into the real world, if you choose to have kids, not have kids, get married, live by yourself with roommates, your situation is going to vary depending on the choices you make. So we're going to kind of go over ours, and then as we're doing that, kind of think about where you want to be and the things you want to do, and then think about if you'll be able to afford that. So I've taught at St. Augustine High School for 4 years. Right now I make about $41,000. I am a coach, and with pay for performance, I'll make a little bit more than that, so a couple thousand more. Right now I live in St. Augustine South, so kind of like the Shores area down by Walmart. It's a cheaper place than St. Augustine to live, but it's nice because it's right by the water. My boyfriend and I, we live in a house. His grandma died when he was in college, and she left him a lot of money, so we put a down payment on the house, and he actually owns it. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, so it's an actual house, and I pay half the mortgage. So he pays half, I pay half, but it belongs to him. He works at Merrill Lynch in Jacksonville. He does mutual fund reconciliation. I have no idea what that means, but I know it doesn't make $240,000. He makes about the same as I do. We share every single expense equally. So the rent, the utilities, everything is split right down the middle, and it works for us. We are pretty comfortable financially because we don't have kids. Buying a house also helps us save a little bit of money because we're paying less for a mortgage than we are for rent. So at the end of each year, we have about $7,000 just saved up that we can use on whatever we want. We like to travel. I've shown you guys pictures every single break. So we go on a lot of vacations, and that's where a lot of our money goes. So right now we've got a lot of extra money, but at some point we want to get engaged, married, and if we decide to move our house or if we move states, all of that's going to cost more. So that $7,000 could dwindle and maybe be a little bit less.
So as you see, Miss Hall makes $41,000, and now we have my situation. I make almost exactly what she does, maybe a couple of dollars more, which is weird because we're 20 years difference in age. So she's 26 and I'm 46, and we make about the same. Why is that?
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
She been, I thought, oh, never mind, that was another question. I forgot, like, you said that you can make 3 years, 3 years.
Right.
after her. And I forgot, like, you probably worked before.
Yeah, so I'll go with that right now. So 20 years ago when I first started teaching, I taught 5 years in Cincinnati. And then we moved here, and we got married and moved here, and then I took 12 years off to raise these 2 awesome kiddos here. So she's a senior at Creekside, he's a junior at Nice. So I took 12 years off where I wasn't, remember the pay scale, so I lost all those 12 years. So that didn't bump me up financially. Then when I came back to teach in St. Johns County, they didn't accept my years of teaching in Cincinnati, so I had to start at the beginning. So now I'm in my 4th year of teaching in St. Johns County, my 3rd year at St. Augustine High. So I'm at this pay scale. Okay, so I live with both of my awesome kiddos, and I do also receive $1,000 each pay period in child support. So I have 5 years of alimony. So alimony is after a divorce when one spouse has to pay another spouse for a certain amount of time because their salaries are so different, so the other spouse can survive. So we came to the decision that he would pay me $6,000 a month for 5 years. And so that ended a year ago. So think about that. Okay, so I say 6,000, so what would you do with that money? So here's what I did. So it's actually 5,000 a month because government takes out a percentage for income tax. So I have $5,000 a month and I know it's gonna end after 5 years. So what I did with that money is I lived off my crappy teacher salary, and with that $5,000 I put half of it in savings and I put half of it to my mortgage for my house. So what the result of that is that now my house is paid off because I'm done with the alimony. It's over. He doesn't deserve to pay that for his entire life. And so I have about $54,000 saved up in savings from doing that. And so now he does have to pay child support until my kiddos go off to college. So I have 2 more years of getting $1,000 a paycheck. So I'm getting $2,000 a month right now, but it's going to end, so I'm scared. So I need to figure out what to do when that ends because I'm back on a teacher salary, right? So I have lived off my teacher salary because when I lost the alimony, I didn't want it to devastate me. So I really spent not much money because I was scared of what am I going to do when that happens. My kids both have jobs, and so they pay for their own things when they go out with their friends. Like if I take them out, I'll pay for dinner, but for the most part, they're self-sufficient.
So teacher number 3 has kind of a different situation. So I live with my boyfriend, so we kind of share expenses. Miss Hampson gets alimony, so that helps her with her expenses. Teacher number 3 is on her own, so I want you guys to see how this is a little bit different. So teacher number 3 makes $49,000, so about $50,000 each year. She's taught for 18 years, so she's been in the school system for a long time, but she's divorced, and the ex-husband has not been financially responsible, so she doesn't get alimony. He's not been in the picture. So she's raising 1 kid on her own, which is very, very expensive, and the child does not contribute to household funds, so they don't have a job where they're helping pay for rent, utilities, all that stuff. This teacher owns a home and has taken out a second mortgage, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Has a lot of credit card debt, and on top of that has monthly bills that she has to pay by herself. So at this point, she's owing more in bills each month than she can afford to pay. So she's what we call in the red, which means you're in debt. Okay. Now, Mr. Klein, if you guys are like, man, teachers don't make anything, but you want to be in education, administrators do make a lot more money. So as an assistant principal, he makes $77,000 a year. So it's about double what a teacher makes, but there's a lot more responsibility involved. It's his 15th year as an assistant principal, so he's been doing it for a long time. Even though he made that much money, he is by himself, so he's also divorced, so he doesn't have anybody else bringing that money in. So what he wanted to do for a little bit of extra money is that he decided to be an Uber driver, which does make extra money, but it's a lot of wear and tear on your car, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really make that much of a profit. So what he decided to do to kind of offset the cost of his rent is that he got a roommate. By getting a roommate and charging him $600 per month just to live in the house with him, he has made in 2 years $10,000. So having a roommate, having someone to share that expense is huge because it really offsets all of your expenses. He also has 2 kids who are both in high school. Neither of them work, but they do get money from relatives for birthdays and holidays and stuff. So he's helped them open up a debit card and a checking account so that they can kind of save their money and budget that way.
So whenever you look at our stories that we're telling you, try to apply it to your own life somehow. Think about what you might do when you get into that situation. I'm looking at his right now and I'm like, wow, he's getting $600 a month in cash from that roommate, and that's cash money that government can't take out taxes from. So it's $600, that's all his. So I think about myself and how I'm scared about what's going to happen in 2 years, and I'm thinking, well, my kids are going to be off to college, so I think I'm going to get a roommate, because that sounds like a good plan. Do you have a question?
What happened to his son?
He just got divorced.
Oh,
Yeah,
so his kids don't live with him?
his kids do, they share time, so they're with him half the time. So, yeah.
You have to go through more education to become a administrator in the school.
You need your master's degree. There's something called educational leadership. So if you do want to be an assistant principal, and I think principals make close to about $100,000 a year.
Yeah, they
a
make
little bit
more.
less. If you want to do that, you have to get a master's. So a lot of people have questions about how teachers get paid. And I know Teaching Academy, we've talked about this a little bit, but a lot of this applies to most careers. So even if you don't want to be a teacher, a lot of this is going to be similar. Most jobs you get paid every other week, so about 2 paychecks a month. As teachers in St. Johns County, we get paid on the 1st and the 15th of every single month. So that's when we get our 2 paychecks. Now, they can't really pay us when school isn't in session, so they can't pay us over the summer, but we still get paid. On the last day of school, they give you all your summer paychecks at once. So like on May 30th, you get $5,000 and you feel like you can ball out. But you really have to make sure it lasts over those 2 months, because by August, you're kind of hurting and you're ready for money again. So yes, we get paid in the summer, but we kind of have to budget that money. The other awesome part about teaching is that we get paid even when we're not at work. So this is true for most jobs if you're on a salary. So what salary means for us is that even when we're not in school, we get paid. So holidays, in-service days, professional days, and during the summer break, we still get paid. So it's cool because during Christmas break, we're not here for 2 weeks, and we still get a paycheck as if we taught for 2 weeks. So it's the same amount of money whether we're teaching or whether we're sitting at home. We also get paid for sick days and personal days. So we get 10 sick days a year. So if you don't feel well and you don't want to come into work, that's fine, you'll still get paid for that day. So that's pretty cool. Once you run out of sick days, they go into your personal days. So personal are kind of like extra in case you run out. Once you go over your limit though, they just don't pay you for the day you don't come in. So you can still take like that 15th sick day, but they're just not going to pay you for that day. We do also get a small raise at the end of each year, so we get about $500 extra each year. So it's kind of nice that we get more for what we do. If you guys have Mr. Winter, he always says this, that we have the best job in the world because there's no other job that pays you this much for only working 10 months out of the year. Really, it's more like 9 when you add up all of our breaks. So it's pretty cool that you get paid this much and you have all this free time. My boyfriend at his job, he has to like kick and scream to get 4 weeks off for vacation. I get 3 months. So I think that's really awesome.
The other great thing about the teaching profession is I don't know another profession that allows you at the end of every year to click a reset button and start over. Get a new batch of students, fix what went wrong before, and just make everything better. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly through this. I'm going to take you through our salaries and our paycheck stuff so you can see that. After that, we're going to talk about where our expenses go, how much we owe per month and everything. So Hall and I are pretty similar. She makes $41,069 a year. I make $41,250. What's that break down to hourly? About $27 per hour for her, about $28 for me. Daily, about $200 a day, about $210 a day. So, and per paycheck, $1,700. That's before government takes out taxes. So you'll see that that's a little bit less when we show you the paycheck. I thought about maybe quitting and just coming back in as a sub whenever I feel like it. But it doesn't really add out, like it doesn't really make sense to do that because they're not even making about half of what they are. So be nice to yourselves. All right, so you can go ahead.
So teacher number 3, like we said, she's taught for 18 years, so she's starting at $49,000, so almost $50,000 a year. And that means each paycheck she should be getting about $2,000 before taxes are taken out. We're going to show you what it really is because it's pretty crazy. Now, if you want to be a principal, you want to make the big bucks, or an assistant principal, Mr. Klein, he makes $77,000 a year, so that's about $3,200 a paycheck before taxes are taken out. So he's got a lot more money. Each day he makes about $300, whereas we make about $200. So if that's the avenue you want to go down, it's a lot more money, but it's a lot of responsibility too.
All right. Yep, here's our paycheck. So this is Hall's paycheck, and it's kind of big and cluttered, but we're going to break it down real fast for you. She should get this per paycheck, $17.11. That's how much the employer gives out to her. But then government takes out taxes. They're taking out Social Security, Medicare, and FIT, which is federal income tax. Okay? She's also on the health plan. She's a single. She doesn't have kids on it, which is good because it's cheaper. And then this is our Florida retirement system. So they're taking out $126, and then for taxes, they're taking out $288. So instead of getting $17.11, which is what the employer pays her, they take out all that, and she gets her net pay, which is $1,200. So $1,200 instead of $1,700 because of taxes. Okay, so let's check out mine. Mine's almost the same as Hall's. So I get $17.18. Takes out the same government taxes, Social Security, Medicare, federal income. I'm also on the health plan, dental, and Florida retirement system. Also, we are in the union, so we pay dues for that. You can tell them real quickly.
So the union is basically like a group that protects teachers. So if your principal tries to do something really shady and they say you have to come in on Christmas and grade papers, the union will go after them and kind of protect you. So they're really protective of our contract, and they make sure that you're not taken advantage of as a teacher. So you give them a little bit of money every single paycheck, but they use that money to fund the ways that they fight for you.
To protect. And so my net pay is $1,300, okay, instead of $17. We didn't go over this because that's not anything that we see as a result in our paycheck. That's stuff that the employer pays for us. Go ahead.
So teacher number 3, what I want you guys to notice is how much money she's supposed to make and then how much money she actually makes, because it's pretty crazy. So right now up there it says she should make about $2,000 a paycheck. Remember, Hampson and I are at about 12. So she makes a lot more than we do. But if you look over at all the stuff that gets taken out, so there's the normal stuff, the Social Security, Medicare, but over here, notice that she is paying a lot on her own. So because she has a kid, she's almost paying about $300 just to have health insurance. She's got to pay more for dental because she's paying for 2 people. She's also got vision on there. Fortunately, I have pretty good eyesight, so I don't have to pay for it yet. But if that's something you have to pay for, that's more coming out of your paycheck. She also has 2 forms of retirement, so the one we get is teachers and then more on top of that, which is okay, and that's a smart thing to do, but more is coming out of her paycheck. She's also in the union, so a little bit comes out there. And notice that she ends with about $1,200 a paycheck, which is what we make, even though she's supposed to be making $10,000 more than us. Now, Mr. Klein is pretty much the same, except that he's making a little bit more money as an assistant principal. So he should be making about $3,200 per paycheck. After all his taxes are taken out, it's about $2,200. So it's minus $1,000. So he's got all the same things taken out. He's got his health care, which is for a family, so it's more. Dental for a family, and then he's got his retirement taken out. So just kind of keep all those things in mind.
And since he makes so much more money than we do, he's in a higher tax bracket, so the government's going to take more money out of his. Where's it all go, Hall?
Okay, so we told you guys how much we make a paycheck. So this is where our money goes every single month. So each month it's 2 paychecks, so we make about $1,200. Multiply that by 2, it's $2,400 a month. So where does that money go? Like I told you guys, my boyfriend and I split everything. We make the same amount of money, so it kind of makes sense for us. We split the mortgage, which is about $1,200, so we pay about $560 each. Utilities we also split. That's right down the middle. Car insurance. My family gave me the family car in college, so I don't have a car payment. He bought a brand new car, and he has to pay about $200 a month just to pay for the car. So I'm really lucky I don't have that. But I do have to pay for car insurance, and it's just me. I'm an okay driver, so it's about $70 a month. We also have a dog, so we have to pay for him occasionally, but he's not that expensive. We do spend a lot of money on groceries and going out to eat. So we cook most of our own food, but on the weekends we like to go out to eat and try new restaurants. So that can add up and be a little bit pricey. Something I do that it doesn't feel great at the time, but looking back on it later, it's awesome, is I have $200 automatically just taken out of my paycheck and put into a savings account. I use a completely different bank, so I'm not tempted just to transfer money over, and I don't even know the PIN number to get in without like having to look it up. So it makes it really hard for me to take money out of my savings, so that helps. My car is also really tiny. If you see my little green car zipping around, it's only $15 a week in gas. My boyfriend, he used to have a truck and it was $70 a week, so that helps you to have a fuel-efficient car. Cell phone bill is also split, so at the end of the month, I have about $800 extra just to play with. So this is after paying for all the things I kind of have to pay for. I've got about $800 I can save, use for travel, or whatever I want.
She's in a good spot. All right, so for me, my mortgage, when I was paying my mortgage, I told you I paid off my house, it was $650, but I still have to pay $220 just to live, because even though my house is paid off, there's homeowners insurance and property tax. So I'm still paying $220 a month, plus the homeowners association fee is $130 a month. So just to live in my community, I have to pay $130 just to live there, to enjoy the pool and to have them mow the lawn. Utilities at my house are $200 a month. My car payment, I have a Lexus and it's an SUV, so the car payment is $350 right now with insurance as $100, so $450. That's going to be paid off this summer, so this money is going to all go into savings. Internet and TV $100. Groceries, it's twice what Miss Hall does because I have 2 kids. We also eat really healthy, so does she, but it costs a lot more to buy produce, the fruits and vegetables, than it does to eat junk. Going out to eat and stuff like that, $200, so fun stuff. Gas, my Lexus, I fill up about every 2 weeks and it costs $40 to fill my tank. I have a half-hour drive to school and back each day. Cell phone bill for me, unlimited plan $100, and I already told you about the homeowners. So I make, so what I'm spending out is $22.80 per month, and I make $47.06, but that's with the $2,000 in child support, and I'm going to lose that in 2 years. So my extra right now is $2,426, but in 2 years my extra is only going to be $426. So that's why I'm scared, and that's why I'm trying to plan for that.
So teacher number 3, what I want you guys to notice is she's not really spending money on stupid stuff, but she has a lot of necessities that she has to pay for. So remember that she doesn't have any partner that she's living with or getting money from, so she has to pay all this by herself. Nothing is split. So paying for her mortgage is $820. So mine was about 5 or 6, so she's paying for this all by herself. Her utilities and cell phone, again, there's nobody to split it with. Her kid doesn't chip in and shouldn't really be expected to. But that's $165 and $189. That's a ton of money. Car payment and insurance, so for 2 drivers, that's more money. With the pets, that's not too crazy, but that's a little bit more than what we would spend. Groceries and gas. Now, while eating organic and local is awesome, spending $600 a month on groceries is not awesome, because Hampson and I spend less than that. Going out to eat fun stuff. This is where this person does really well because they only spend $100 a month. So that's like $25 a week on just fun things. Clothing is also pretty inexpensive. And then for the tithing, if you tithe money, it means that you're giving money back to your church, which is noble and wonderful. But if you're having a hard time making payments, you probably should be saving that money instead. Now with credit card payments, this is where they're really having trouble. So on top of everything they pay every month, they still have to pay credit card payments of $192. So this person is spending $3,400 every single month, but only making $2,500. So she's what we call in the red. So every single month she is negative that amount of money. So the assistant principal, he makes a lot more money than we do, but notice where it all goes. So again, he's paying the mortgage by himself, so he lives alone. Recently got a roommate, so that's going to change a little bit of this, but most of it is by himself. Utilities, again, will be split with a roommate, but most of it's on his own. Paying a very expensive car payment and insurance for himself is also expensive. Notice that he also has to pay child support. So because he's divorced and he makes a little bit more money, he's going to have to pay child support to his ex-wife. So keep that in mind. Then over here, this on here shows that he puts away about $1,500 for savings or to do things with his kids. So even though it looks like he doesn't have a lot of extra left over, he does have a lot that he's either saving or using for something fun. So this money could also just be put as savings. So at the end of each month, he's got about $300 that he can just kind of use or whatever.
So were you paying attention? Which one of the four has the best amount of extra money?
You what?
What about in 2 years?
Oh, her.
Yeah, she's got like 800 extra, so she's really, really smart with her money.
So these are the things, guys, that we've kind of found help us save money, and this is what will help you. So this sounds silly, but learning how to cook is huge, because if you go out to eat for every single meal, you're spending a lot of money and it adds up quickly. If you go out to breakfast, that's $5, lunch $10, dinner $15. By the end of the day, you've already spent about $50, $60 when you could go to the grocery store and spend $60 for a week's worth of food. So learning to cook and making your own meals at home is huge. Also, making your own coffee. A bag of coffee will last you about 2 weeks and it costs $7. You go to Starbucks every single day, that's like $5 a day for a cup of coffee. That's $25 at the end of the week. Make your coffee at home. Breakfast at home is huge. If you go to Chick-fil-A drive-thru and you're grabbing stuff, it's a lot easier to make eggs at your house. Eggs are very cheap.
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. So, buying secondhand or discount clothing or supplies at cheaper places will help you. So yeah, Dollar Tree doesn't really have clothes, but using that to buy your school supplies if you're a teacher is huge. So we don't spend a lot on clothing. We'll try and get things discounted. Doing fun things that are free, so not spending money going to football games, concerts, really expensive stuff. I like to go to the beach, hike, walk downtown, and all of that's pretty cheap. Shopping deals and clearance, not paying full price for anything, and then using apps that help you save money. So Airbnb is a cheaper alternative to hotels. Hopper, if you're trying to book a flight, will tell you when your flight's the cheapest. And Uber is a lot of times cheaper than a cab. So all these things can help you save money.
I shop at TJ Maxx. If you ever see me in a dress, this dress is a $100 dress that I got for $19.99 because I won't spend more than $20 on my dress.
So if you've totally tuned out, you're like, Miss Hall, why'd you drag us here? We're supposed to be doing multiculturalism and watching Green Book. This is what I want to leave you guys with. The biggest thing you can do is save money every single paycheck. Even if you're working a part-time job, save 5 of it for your $100 paycheck a week, because it will add up. After saving money every single paycheck, I now have a comfortable savings, and it helps me a lot.
I just want to say, when you get your first credit card, which is going to be in the next few years, be smart and immediately set a good routine. Don't ever purchase anything that you can't pay off at the end of the month. And teacher number 3 has advice for you. Be afraid, be very afraid. Do whatever you can while you're young to never be in the credit card hole the way I am. She has all that in credit card debt.
Now, teacher number 4's got a lot, but the one thing I want you guys to get from this is that credit cards aren't that scary. Yes, you don't want to get into trouble with them, but they're also good to have. I think that's the bell.
Yeah.
All right.